Good afternoon everyone and welcome to Safari Live here at Djuma and Arathusa Game Reserves in the world famous Sabi Sands down here in South Africa. What a beautiful way to start the afternoon, hey, on this bull elephant. Just getting a bit of cool water splashed over him there. We just came around the corner and there he was, and he's just given us a bit of a treat. He looks beautiful, shining like that in the sunshine. My name's Hayden Turner and I've got Andrew here on camera with me. Fantastic to have Andrew on board. If I haven't met you before, I used to be here in November last year with Peter Pretorius, and we've come back for a little bit of a visit and to do some drives, and it's an absolute privilege, so absolutely fantastic to be here. Remember, Safari Live is all about interactivity. It's about us interacting with you and you being able to connect with us here live in South Africa. So if you've got any questions you want to ask us, you can tweet us at #SafariLive, or you can email us at questions@WildEarthTV. Now, you can probably see by the way I'm squinting, the sun's beating down at the moment here. It's 33 degrees Celsius, sorry, and the elephant's just starting to move around to this buffalo here. While I give you this little bit of information, 33 degrees Celsius, about 91 degrees Fahrenheit. There's a bit of a hot wind blowing, and I do see some sort of storm clouds over behind us. So we'll watch the weather. We'll keep you well informed about that. But isn't this just beautiful to see? What a great way to start. This beautiful, beautiful young bull. Now, he's far from fully grown, that's for sure. He's got a fair way to go, but he's a beautiful specimen, that's for sure. He's got just small tusks coming out. When he would be potentially at his full size, he could get up to about 6,000 kilograms, which is about, wow, I have to do my conversions quickly in my head, but let's go for about just over 13,000 pounds. And he would be potentially standing or anywhere between around 9 to 11 feet at the shoulder. Which, goodness, again, I have to convert that back the other way now. That's about 3.5 meters roughly, and he'll get to a very, very big size, and he will then start to do what elephants do and trail the herd, looking for females. He'll be spending most of his time either as in a bachelor group at this age probably. But we did have some information from our zoomies, our wonderful zoomies that manage our cameras all around the place, and thank you to you both for giving us some information that at about 2:15 today, right where we're sitting now, there was a beautiful breeding herd of elephant that came down to drink, and they've just gone up a road around to the left, which I'm going to follow up on just now. So this boy's just had his drink and splashed himself with a bit of mud, had a bit of fun. Obviously the buffalo know how to get out of the way. There's nothing really that challenges an elephant in the wild. Buffalo take a bit of a walk on, and he's just moving around the waterhole there. He might get another drink, or he might start to follow up that female, that breeding herd. Now, he could smell a female potentially in estrus in season, and if he does, he might trail behind that herd for some time until she gets into the perfect time for mating. But it's a beautiful sight to see that sun glistening on the water and that elephant all shiny there in the distance. We might move on, but great to have you on board, as I said. If it's your first time on Safari Live, it's a great journey that we do every single afternoon and every morning here on Djuma and Arathusa. And it's all about us getting out and just seeing what happens. It really is. The script is written by the bush itself. We don't have anything planned. Well, we have a little bit of a rough plan about where to go. I'm going to take you up this road now, but that's about it really. And that's what's the fantastic thing. The animals and the wildlife, they dictate the script, and we just fit in. We're very, very privileged to be here, and I'm having a great time being back. Really wonderful to be interacting with everyone. Some people I know, as I said, and some people I don't. But it'll be great to get to know you over the next 3 hours, and hopefully you'll be hooked, like we all are on Safari Live, taking you on the biggest safari vehicle in the world. So there will be a bit of wind blow on the microphones today, folks. I do apologise in advance. We've got little wind gags over our microphones here and on our camera that cut out a little bit of that, but it is a very, very hot breeze blowing at the moment. So at this time of the day, as we all know, we will be getting a situation where majority of the the cats are flat. It's so hot, they'll be conserving their energy. And you'll also find the elephants in the cooler parts under these big trees. But we might try and find that elephant herd, just because the zoomies, the wonderful zoomies, gave us a bit of a tip off here, and I can see elephant tracks along the road. A little bit hard to see in this light because the light's coming from directly above at the moment. But if I see a good one, we'll stop. And we'll show you the different size in the elephant's feet as well. Some of you may know already that the back foot and the front foot have a different shape. And if I don't find a good example of that, I'm just looking out of the vehicle now. Sometimes it's easier just to show you on the iPad, just to give you an idea, and then when I find some good ones in the right spot, I can give you another look. But the back foot and the front foot, quite different. The front foot's round, much rounder shape than the back foot. The back is an ovular shape, and you really do see the difference when the animal's walking, obviously, next to each other. How about we show you right now? That's a good idea, rather than just talking about it. Just coming to a stop here. I'll just quickly whip out the iPad whilst I'm doing it and just getting this app up for you. It's a really easy thing to see the spoor of an elephant, and there's a very unique fingerprint, or footprint I should say, much like ours, and it's a really great thing to compare animals. You can get the, okay, here we go, elephant, and that's the front foot. Okay, I'm just going to hold that up there for you and try and get the reflection off if I can. It's a bit tricky in this shot. That's a good image of the front foot. I've got to show you the back foot. I don't have a silhouette off it, but the back foot, if you can take the edges off that, is a much more ovular shape. Now the reason for that, so I'll just remove that now for you, it's just to give you a quick look. The reason for that is that the majority of the animal's body weight is on the front of its chassis. It's in the shoulders, it's in that massive head, that massive trunk, that massive skull, and a lot of the time massive ivory as well. And in the back end, it's a lot lighter. The elephant's skeletal or skeleton structure is like a honeycomb. If you look inside it, I'd love to be able to find a bone for you, and if I do, I'll definitely put it on the truck. The bone, if you look inside, it's like a honeycomb structure, and it's been designed, I suppose, if you want to, for want of a better word, to allow the animal to have a really good solid structure, but not have the weight of full solid bone. And very, very beautiful design, elephants. So I'm just keeping my eyes out for this breeding herd. Don't know if you can see down there now. I just want to get in Andrew into a position here, so bear with me, folks. See if you can get this, Andrew. It's a little bit of a tricky one, mate. But just on that tyre track there, if you get in there, can you see that, mate? Okay, just there. So that's an elephant track, and you can see it's the ovular shape of the back foot there, but you can see those tiny little cracks in it as well. Those tiny little cracks is that unique fingerprint. So a lot of scientists use different methods to track their animals. Obviously, when you get an animal visual, you can see by the ear notches and the holes and the little imperfections in the ear that it's picked up over time. But when you're tracking, obviously, you want to know what individual you are tracking. So that fingerprint, which is a footprint really, is a great way to do it. Now, these elephants have gone up this road and they have the spoor, the tracks still go up here. So I'm going to follow up. We do find that elephants do use the roads quite a lot. And I think Peter might have touched on it earlier today, or it might have been yesterday. And he gave some background of that a lot of the roads through here are animal tracks or animal pathways that have been widened by vehicles or whatever it may be. We've still got those tracks going up the side of the road there. And you'll find that a lot of those roads are the most efficient, most effective way to get from A to B. Another complete sign that elephants have been through here, broken off this branch and just dropped it in the middle of the road. Now let's just see if we can come across them. always can't guarantee because it's so hot. They might drop down into a little drainage line to get into a bit cooler area, but we'll do our best and see what we can find. Great to have you on board. Very exciting to be back for Peter and I and the team, and just want to thank everyone for being so wonderful again, and Nikki and Tara in Final Control directing, so big hats off to them. They're doing a fantastic job coping with me getting back in the saddle and getting used to it again, and all the support. So they could have peeled off anywhere here. Just scanning around here, just looking to see through the vegetation. One of the things I always find, folks, about elephants is that they are obviously, everyone knows, they're the biggest land mammal on the planet, but they can disappear like that in this quite low vegetation. They really do blend in. That grey colour blends with the sort of the trunks of the trees and the broken branches, and it is very, very easy to lose an elephant herd, even in vegetation like this. So one has to keep their eyes open, and as I said, they could just drop down, we wouldn't even see them. And it's very thick country there to be driving through. If I do see them, I definitely will go off-road and go and visit them. We had a lovely encounter this morning, if you were with us, with a beautiful breeding herd of elephant. One of the females came up to within about 10 metres of our vehicle. We saw a couple of youngsters playing, and then right at the end of the morning, we came across a youngster that was just born this year, so only like a few months old, still fitting under his mummy's belly. So what I might do, folks, is just while I'm looking here, I'll definitely come back to you, is cross over to Pete, see what he's up to. I know he was hot on Kunyuma and trying to find out if there was any updates there. So why don't we go across to him? We'll see you just now. Well, guys, very, very good afternoon, and warm welcome to the Jigga, warm welcome here to South Africa, Djuma Game Reserve, Narituza Game Reserve in Sabi Sands. It is, as always, a pleasure to have you here, and I'm particularly excited to have you here. In fact, I'm going to stop quickly to welcome you properly. I'm particularly excited to have you with us because you can be with us where we are at the moment. And what I mean with that is not just a live game drive in the African bush, but a live game drive in a riverbed that up to yesterday I couldn't drive with the Jigga. We've got some new gear in the back, so it means that we can take you even further into the bush, get into some little nooks and crannies. Let me just turn the game drive down, that we couldn't before. And one of the areas we couldn't get into were these riverbeds. Because they're low down, it made it a little bit difficult for the broadcast, or effectively to get you here. So very excited. My name is Peter Vittorius, by the way. Brian behind the camera, Nikki and Tara in control room, and we're looking forward to this afternoon a lot. Partly just because I can explore a couple of new roads. I love this little piece of road we're going to drive now. It's not really a road, you can see just looking at it. It's a little track down the sandy riverbed. It's one of my favorite places to drive on Djuma. It's beautiful. You've got big trees, we've got massive jackalberries. I've seen the leopard in almost all of them over the years. We are going to see some other leopards in some of the other big trees as we go along. You get interesting elephant behavior in here, and it is just fun to drive in them. So that's a little highlight for me personally, and it's always a highlight if I can take people along and share it with them. So looking forward to that. We had Kunyuma this morning, beautiful male leopard, one of my favorites. We have a bit more information now. I spoke to Texan and Aubrey, the other guides. I'll fill you in on that a little bit later in the drive. In fact, I might even show you something if it's still around. And yeah, just fantastic to have you here. Elephant, Hayden had an elephant bull. We saw some ellies further back. We left them for now. We know where they're heading. We're going to try and catch up again. So elephants certainly around. Leopard we're hoping for. Lion as always. And then the most exciting thing, the thing that people come to the bush for, we're definitely going to experience this afternoon. And that is the fact of surprise. You're driving around, you're coming around a bend, and there's something you didn't expect to see. And that happens always, even if it is just a nice sunset, or for me this afternoon, to be able to drive into the riverbed and be able to take you along. So that is always, for me personally, and I'm sure for many, many of you, the joy of being in Africa and being on Game Drive is that experience of just the unexpected and just enjoying the beautiful nature around us. So let's go look around.
guys, so that's basically what I'm thinking about at the moment, other than all the things we're looking for, all the things we can see, but it's just the fact that we can drive here. Since a little boy, driving down a sandy riverbed in a 4x4 has always been one of my great pleasures and joys, and love being able to do it here. Look at this lovely Jackalbach leadwood tree on the right hand side here. Big knobthorn in the back, and the tree on the right hand side, this one is a leadwood tree. This particular one would be at least 300, 400, 500 years old by now, maybe older. They can live 1,000 years or more. They can stand another 1,000 years after they've died because the wood is so hard. Nothing eats it, termites don't break it down. Hence leadwood, or ironwood is also what they're called. I just love this piece of the riverbed. It's so pretty, and sort of expecting to find something at any minute. It feels like there's a surprise and adventure around every corner. So very happy to be able to bring you down here. Beautiful riverbed lined by stunning trees, of which maybe this is one of the best examples. When you draw a tree as a kid, it's got 2 legs and 2 arms and a head. And you draw a tree as a kid, they look a lot like this. You've got a big trunk and this beautiful sort of symmetrical crown to it. And this is a beautiful jackalberry tree. I have seen leopard in it. I'd never drive past this tree without looking for leopard in it again. But it's also got a very descriptive name. A jackalberry tree has these berries on it, and it's one of the few trees that doesn't have a specific season for fruiting. You get the fruits throughout the year sometimes, and many animals eat it, not just jackals. For a second there I thought maybe Brian had spotted a leopard and he was just going to surprise us. Not impossible. I've driven in this riverbed. In fact, I'll show you the tree just now. It's 2 trees from here, where we drove under the tree, and for some reason I had a tracker with me. His name was Rodney. He looked back and he was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And there were 2 leopards up in the tree that we'd just driven underneath. So it can happen. But these fruits from the jackalberries, many, many animals eat them. Jackals, obviously, as you may have guessed from the name of the tree. But also birds, you know, you get green pigeons, this beautiful pigeon. It's a lovely sort of I don't even know how to describe it, like a powder green color. Beautiful birds, lories, monkeys, baboons, bushbuck, warthogs, kudu, everything come and eat these berries at some stage or another. They're also evergreens, so they're fantastic shade trees throughout the year. And one of my other favorite trees. A couple of minutes ago we were talking about the leadwood. And as I was saying just now, just up this little bank, we've got twin dams. We can have a look at twin dams, and then I'm actually going to get back into the riverbed. Let me just show you actually, Brian, if we just look down the riverbed, you can see where the tracks go. Those 2 trees hanging over the riverbed, those 2 sort of lush green ones, those were the ones we drove underneath them, and looking back we saw a leopard lying up in the branches literally above where we'd driven. So you must always look around carefully. Quite a few flies out this afternoon as well. It's quite hot, overcast. In fact, it looks like maybe some rain in the distance. So very dramatic, exciting afternoon in the bush. Look at those clouds. We're going to come driving back down this riverbed and see what we can find. There's something I saw earlier I want to show you. Guys, also remember you can always send questions, hashtag Safari Live if you're tweeting or just want to chat via the tweets, or mail it, that's electronic mail, not by post, to questions@WildEarthTV. Guys, beautiful scene here. Twin dams. We will be here a few times this afternoon. I'm expecting that Kunyuma, that male leopard we saw this morning briefly, when he proceeds with his afternoon's activities, I'm expecting him to come and drink here. So we will be visiting here a few times. In the meantime, got quite a nice herd of buffalo here, all bachelors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I think, at a quick count, a dozen of them. And they're just doing what buffalo like to do this time of the day, taking it easy in the mud and the water, keeping cool. we're going to sit here a few minutes, just enjoy the view. You can hear there's a bit of wind blowing. I will show you that sky again. I know Brian's also keen to show you. It's beautiful sky this afternoon, so really exciting afternoon. I'm looking forward to it. Annie from Durban. Hello, Annie. Always nice to have people from sort of closer around the corner on the vehicle with us as well. Annie's just asking those trees we were just talking about. We just talked about the jackalberry, also referred to as the ebony sometimes. Look at that sky. Summer in Africa. And just before that, some of you might have missed it, but Annie was referring to the leadwood tree, also called correctly, Annie, as you mentioned there, ironwood. In Afrikaans, we call it a harde kool, meaning a very hard coal, because it makes very, very good coals for braaiing or for heat. Annie was asking if that's the wood used for making railway sleepers. Annie, I'm sure in the early days of railways, they probably would have used it. It certainly is hard enough. Although the typical wood used for is Rhodesian teak. 99% of wooden railway sleepers. Of course, these days, many railway sleepers are made from either iron or some places also from concrete or cement. But the older days, there where I live in Walvis Bay, we still manage to track them down quite often. You get these old railway sleepers, Rhodesian teak, absolutely beautiful wood. Hard as nails. You can say the same thing about these guys. Buffalo, you could compare them to a leadwood tree rather than a baobab. Solid, timeless almost, tough. And I know at the moment most of the buffalo we're seeing, the big breeding herds, I was talking to some of the guides last night, we got together with them just to sort of say hello and catch up a bit, and they're saying the big breeding herds have moved further east. They might come back again, but for the while we're seeing mostly these sort of dagga boys or bulls. Always tricky to watch birds because you have to be able to get close enough to see them. Brian, is that lure is just too far, huh?
Where about?
Just in front of the buffalo on the water line.
Oh, there.
Yeah, just no, I see it fairly well. That's a grey lurie. A lot of bird names every few years change a little bit. It's now referred to as a go-away bird. Grey luries are one of the birds that would eat jackalberries. Grey luries, purple-crested luries, we see them sometimes here, beautiful birds. Green pigeons, like I mentioned. And yes, Diana and Robin were asking about jackalberries. As I said, lots of animals eat them, lots of birds eat them. Humans do eat them, but they're not that great. It's not something that people really sort of make a meal from, if you want, like marulas, for instance. Marulas are actually actively collected by people still today for the fruit, for the nut, different uses for it. Whereas jackalberries are not, the food value of it is not that high for us that can eat, all kinds of easy commodities these days. But for an animal out there, for a grey lurie or for a monkey or a baboon or something like that, it is a great source of food and also taste. It's got sugar in it. We all know what sugar is like. It tastes good. Which one was that? I had a few comments there regarding the one buffalo looking like the tail tip's missing. It might have just been sort of cramped up or rolled up a little bit. Can't see one with a missing tail now, although seeing buffalo with missing tails is fairly common. Yeah, I think the tail was just tucked away there. Buffalo, zebra, those are probably the two most common ones to see without tails. And it's because lions hunt them, and lions sometimes jump on their hindquarters, and buffalo or zebra, I've seen it happen, it's quite spectacular to see. They can kick lions off as well. I've seen it twice, once with the buffalo kill where the lions were being sort of thrown around, and once with the zebra kicking the lion a good solid kick in the chest. So they can kick them off, but sometimes in the process, because they're grabbing onto the tails, they can lose it. Oh, this one, I see what you mean. The tail is there, but the sort of the tip of the tail, if you want, the little hairy bit of it is gone. So that was probably or most likely from lions. I don't see major scars, probably from long ago. If it was more recent, you would see scarring on the back of the animal as well. Well, I'm going to take a couple of minutes here. It's a lovely view, nice bird activity. You've got the blacksmith plover in the back there, or lapwing, buffalo, nice breeze blowing, which is quite cool. We'll go another question or two. Just going to take a few minutes and just enjoy the setting. Good afternoon, Jerry. Asking on Twitter there, where do these animals get their water from when it dries up? A very good question, Jerry. It's a very practical question, one that actually plays a very big role in the game viewing experience. The numbers of game seen, the species of game seen in this part of the world, especially when it's get drier now. We were talking this morning, Brian and myself, at Buffelshoek Dam, that Buffelshoek Dam, for instance, Hayden's going to go there later on. You will see it on drive if you stay with us for a while. And Buffelshoek Dam is one of the bigger ones and keeps water normally to the last. So when the other waterholes start drying up, for instance, this one, Twin Dams, if I had to guess it, looking at it now, unless we get some rain, I mean, just looking at this afternoon, there might be some rain on the way. But if there's no more rain coming, which is possible, we are at the end of the rain season, then Twin Dams, my estimate here would be another 8 weeks, maybe 2 months, May, June. By July, latest end of July, this will be dry. Gari Waterhole in front of Voitela Lodge, I would give maybe 3 months, 4 months at the most. So by the time that it's sort of in the middle of winter and it's very dry, then the animals will have to flock to where there is water, and they'll cover big distances for that. Even more so once it's sort of early summer before the rains, any remaining water sources will be very popular. Big permanent rivers in Kruger, big waterholes in this part of the world will draw massive numbers of game. So the game drives this year will be spectacular as it goes more and more into winter. And the good life, huh? Worst ways to spend the afternoon. And I'm talking about the buffalo and about us. That's a lovely view. Well, trying to decide. I sort of feel like I can just sit here the rest of the afternoon.
It's very pleasant.
Yeah, it's very pleasant. There's a bit of a breeze blowing, some clouds blocking the sun. It's cool. It's been very, very hot earlier today, and sort of hot in that sort of clammy, getting ready for rain kind of way. There you can see the clouds. That's looking towards the west now. Got a beautiful herd of buffalo. I've got a, I'd give it a 75% chance that we will find a leopard at this waterhole with a bit of luck, because you have to be there when it happens. But I think Kunyuma will come and drink here later on towards sunset. Nice bit of bird life. So we could easily spend the afternoon and have a very, very good afternoon. But at the same time, that's the benefit of having a fantastic game drive vehicle that's been built for us. Probably the best vehicle in the world for doing what we're doing. So we are going to drive around. I want to take you down that riverbed again that I spoke of earlier. I saw something. It's not something massive, not something great, but something really interesting. I think you'll enjoy it, so I want to go show you that. We are going to come back here. We're going to sort of circle back and forth a few times. We will keep an eye on this waterhole and see what else is out there. HT is also cruising around. He's heading up to Buffelshoek Dam, another big waterhole. So I've got a good feeling about this afternoon. Let's go take that riverbed. Hello, Mary. That's actually quite a cool question. I love questions that are specific to what's going on. And that was Mary made an observation, saw something, didn't quite understand it, or just found it curious, because this is quite a sort of a curious observation. And I asked the question. So, Mary, great question. She's just asking, why do the buffalo curl their tails up at certain stages? Now, Mary, one thing I know is that Murphy loves game drives as much as any of us. So, it's not likely any buffalo is going to do that right now. But sometimes you get that just before they defecate. Other times you get that because they may be walking through the water and they don't want to get it wet, I guess. Other times I think they just do it because they can. And then sometimes you get it where it stays like it because they've broken it, maybe in a fight or running around in the herd or something like that. Oh, just look at that guy. Brian, a little bit more to the left. He was standing further back earlier. He looks like he's been built out of concrete. Look at him. He's got it all sorted out. Sun's not getting to him. He's got 100% sunscreen. That's a great question, Velma. Velma in Michigan is just asking if people ever eat buffalo meat. And I know this is a controversial discussion that we won't go into now, because some of you may eat meat, some of you may not eat meat, and all these different... Guys, let's just see how this other one did it. The on the left one is lying down now. Brian, I'm just going to roll forward. I think this twig is in your way. There we go. Look at this. This is the application to get yourself looking like the guy we just looked at. And buffalo love doing this. Firstly, foremostly, I think they do it because it's nice. They enjoy it. I've looked at them doing this. They're having fun. So I think that's their main motivation. The practical reason behind it, cools them down, gets rid of ticks and fleas and all those flies and things buzzing around them, can't get to their skin because they've got this layer of mud over them now. Okay, so the question there was just if people ever eat buffalo meat. Strangely enough, not that much. And there's a lot of explanations for that again, even though it's not a bad meat at all. Other venisons, eland is excellent meat, maybe as good or better than beef, leaner than beef, very healthy. And if more people ate more kinds of venison, you would actually... just for pure practical reasons, have more wild animals around. The pigs, cows, sheep are very numerous because they play an important role in the sort of food chain of humans. So in many ways, whichever way you might feel about eating meat or not, if we ate more venison, more variations of meat, there would be more variations of animals in abundance. But buffalo is very similar to beef. Yo, can you see those flies? Look at that. Looks like a cloud of them. It's one of the reasons why buffaloes might be a little bit testy sometimes. Can you imagine if you spend your whole day and you just always have a couple of thousand flies buzzing around you, trying to get into your ears, getting into your eyes. Ah, that must feel good. In fact, and this might be strange, but I look at it sometimes and I'm really hot and I think, you know what, that must actually feel nice. Obviously, you'll go for a swim afterwards, get rid of the mud again, but you can imagine if you're a big animal. This is a big bull. I was looking at him now. He's got big shoulders, strong built. He's probably 800-900 kilograms. That's 1,000, 6,000, 700, 1,800 pounds. Big buffalo. Look at that. So you get very hot. Look at him. Here's the wet mud buffalo and the dry mud buffalo. Both of them solidly built, big guys. That guy's doing something similar but different now, unless he's going to roll as well. But it looked like he was going to just roll his horns in the mud for a second there. Buffalo, especially the bulls, have to really take care of the horns, especially of those bosses. The bosses are those heavy shields, if you want, at the top of the skull. So the horns start on the skull, and actually, just for interest's sake, the difference between horns and antlers. Antlers, most of the deers that you get in North America, for instance, fall off and come back again, and it's a different construct, if you want, from horns, which you get with your antelopes and also with buffalo. This is actually part of the skull growth. So the horn is part of the skull, and then it's got this hairy layer, which is the sheath, if you want, that goes over the horns, and that's got to be looked after. The same as your fingernails. It's very, very similar, just much harder, much thicker in the case of buffalo. But you know what it's like. If you don't look after your fingernails, you know, they start looking like mine at the moment, which I was thinking of earlier. I need to get working on them. The same with these buffalo. They've got to work on those horns. They've got to maintain them day to day. Otherwise, they can get flaky and they can get cracked. So they do all kinds of maintenance on the horns, which this guy's still not doing. I was hoping if I talk long enough, he'd get into it. But I think he's just going to wallow. But they basically rub it in the mud, and then they do it very often. They rub it up against tree bark, up against tree trunks. Not only to scrape off or exfoliate the dead cells on the horns, but also to get oils into it. All those oils and liquids you get in tree bark is very, very good for the horns. Ah, there we go. Going for a fresh mud application. Just while we're sitting in such a great spot, just want to see this bird here just to the left of the buffalo. I was just noticing him, and he was coming a bit closer. It's called a blacksmith plover or a lapwing. We're going to talk about him more just now. I just want to quickly answer Max's question. Max, this is one of my favorite questions. Ask it again in the next few days if you want. And I've got to pick it up a little bit just for time. But Max is asking, what's my favorite month, or what's the best month to come to Africa? Max, any month. The first opportunity you get, the first day you can come to Africa, that's the best time. The second best time, in my opinion, I've always said May. I love the month of May, so I'm very excited to be here for that month. But it's very true what you say. As it gets drier, as the water holes get smaller, as water becomes less available, obviously that becomes a massive attraction. So winter, midwinter, end of winter, early summer is also very good for game viewing. But I truly, honestly believe the best time to come to Africa is whenever you can, as often as you can. Always been my answer, always will be. Right, so this little bird running around, I'm going to try and roll a bit closer because he's going back to what I wanted to talk about earlier, but then he sort of walked away before I could. Let's see if he does again. Come on, be a sport. Okay, now plovers, as I still call them, that's what I got to know them when I was younger. They're now called lapwings. They're insect eaters. And blacksmith plovers, they love being close to waterholes. Generally speaking, they're normally close to waterholes. Otherwise, nice open areas. Long legs, so they can run around in the shallow water. They can run around in tallish grass. Sharp beak for grabbing little insects. And opportunistic. Like all animals that hunt, they have to be opportunistic. You have to be able to take opportunities when they arise. One of the things they do, and I'm waiting for him to do it, but he's not doing it, or her, blacksmith plover, is very difficult. They look the same. There we're going back to the dung. That's the same pile of dung that I've noticed twice now. That looks like hippo dung. Now it's running away again. But hippo dung, elephant dung, rhino dung, all your hindgut fermenters, animals that leave sort of very coarse dung. In that dung you get a lot of insects making either their nests or laying their eggs or just getting moisture from it. And the plovers and many other birds use that opportunity to go and grab those insects from the dung. Stunning bird. They've got their name blacksmith plover or blacksmith lapwing, sorry, not lapwing, from two parts. One is they sort of look like they're wearing a leather apron, you know, like those heavy aprons blacksmith used to wear. But the other one is when they're flying. When they're flying, they sound like they're hitting an anvil with a hammer. It goes ding, 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 ding. Not quite like it, but close enough. If we see one flying and it's calling, I'll let you know. But it sounds like a hammer and an anvil at a distance. All right. It's difficult to leave. It's such a nice setting. He's making waves. Let's just imagine that. I mean, as humans, we've got so many luxuries around us, and that's great. You know, I'm a fan of luxuries at the right time. But the small pleasures in life. Imagine these buffalo. They've been hot the whole day. Now they can roll in the water. There's one walking straight through the water. 2, 3 of them in the back lying flat down in the water. They must enjoy this so much. A nice way to cool down. A little bit of grazing again later in the afternoon. They just seem so content. Being content and being happy, I think, is often not far removed from each other. Right, well, I think we're almost ready to move on. If you've maybe just joined us, we've been sitting here enjoying a beautiful afternoon at a warthole. We've got this lovely setting of buffalo bulls just taking it easy around the water. If you've maybe just joined us for the afternoon game drive, this is live in the African bush down here in South Africa. My name's Peter Pretorius. Brian on the vehicle with me. Always nice to be with Brian. And we've been having a good afternoon. HT started with a lion. We'll get there. HT started with an elephant earlier. We had this buffalo and we ended up staying with them longer than planned just because there's so much going on. They've been rolling and they're just sort of showing us how to sometimes just enjoy life. Just take it easy and enjoy the small pleasures. And I've been threatening to do so, so I think I'm going to do it now. I'm going to take you down a little drive down the drainage line, which we came up earlier, but I want to go back down it. It's something I want to show you. Nothing major, don't get excited about it. Just something small, but noticed it earlier. Guys, we have to have one more look at this buffalo. Sorry, he's just great. In fact, I'm going to get a picture of him as well. He just has this great look of timelessness about him. I don't know, something very wild and rugged about him. Cheers, mister. One cool buffalo. Something very awesome about him. Trent, in Fiji. I see here from somewhere from a very different part of the world. Trent is asking, could humans drink buffalo milk? And if we could, would we? Trent, I was going let me give you the serious answer first. I was going to give you the other answer, which is you could, but holding on to them is really difficult. Trent, I'm just kidding. Of course, in parts of the world, especially the water buffalo, the Asian buffalo are farmed pretty much like cattle. And in parts of Africa, people are farming buffalo more and more because of their high value. And they do actually become tame, although African buffalo, or the Cape buffalo as they're called, can be very tricky customers. But the short answer, Trent, is yes, you would be able to drink buffalo milk. As far as I know, it would be slightly richer than cow's milk. Also depends on what they eat, and with them it would vary also to the time of the year, obviously, what they're eating. So yes, the answer is yes, you could. The answer is would we? I would if it was available, but it's not really something that's available, which brings us back maybe to what we spoke about earlier with the meat question is, and maybe we should also explore alternative sources of food rather than just the typical domesticated animals, because that would give space for those animals to live. Guys, we've had some good birding actually this afternoon. These are one of my ultimate favorite birds. There they go. Crested francolin. Little bush alarms. Early morning, late afternoon, you hear them. Great little alarms also for finding leopards sometimes, or small predators. They make a big racket when they get a fright. Occasionally referred to by people as heart attack birds. Stefan will have a good story or two about that as well. If you've done lots of walking like Stefan has, and in my earlier days I used to do a lot of hiking trails, you walk and sometimes they jump out almost from underneath your feet. And if you're walking in a thick area with tall grass and beautiful trees, and there's something like this where there could be a leopard or a lion or an elephant or a rhino anywhere, you naturally have your heart rate up, you naturally have your sort of adrenaline ready. And if you're then walking, 5 or 6 people with you, and suddenly a bird like that flies out this far from your foot, It certainly does wake up the senses, let's leave it at that. Look at this. Everything just seems to work. I love this riverbed, so we're going to spend lots of time here. This is called a russet bush willow. And you make these beautiful seeds. And this is where the name comes from, is from the seeds when they get this color, when they start drying out. Actually, when they, even before they dry out, they have this beautiful russet or rust-colored color. And the russet bush willow can sometimes be covered in them, so the whole bush can just get this color. You can make a tea from this as well, so you can take these seeds, you can boil them up and it makes a little tea. It's not that bad. I mean, it's similar to rooibos too, I guess, in color and texture. And all the combretums, look at that, all the combretums have got these winged fruits. Normally 4 wings. And let's just see, there is a little bit of wind blowing. Sorry, Brian, I'm a bit quick there. The wind has just stopped now, but the principle of this is very basic. If the wind is blowing, the seeds will move along, they roll along. I'll show you another time, maybe a better example, but we get many different kinds of them. We get the giant, or not the giant, the large fruited bush willow, which makes the same seeds but like that size. And in Afrikaans, the name in Afrikaans actually refers to that as a walking stick tree, if you want. They make really good straight limbs for making very good walking sticks from. Alright, the riverbed, as I said, I love driving down here always because it's beautiful. You've got big trees, tambuti, leadwood, jackalberry, heilboerboom, all nice big trees. There's a Ziziphus macronata, what is that, buffalo thorn. And with big trees and beautiful riverbeds comes good wildlife sometimes. And just the driving is good fun as well. I think all of us are little kids inside. Some more so maybe than others. I'm what now? I'm 38 years old now. I still feel like I'm just a boy. So I have to thank WildEarth for giving me this fantastic little toy to play with in the bush. But guys, just driving down such a beautiful part of nature is a pleasure in itself. Anything you see then is just a big bonus, a big extra present. You see lots of tracks, just the texture in the sand. Obviously the tracks from the vehicles going through here, but all the little pock marks, that's all different animals. Again, buffalo, giraffe, kudu. And these kind of drainage lines, zebra, not zebra, sorry. I was thinking not zebra, I said it. Yala is what I meant. Bushbuck, animals that like a little bit thicker habitats. Monkeys, of course. Elephants, there's some old elephant dung. How nice the backlight is catching this grass. We're talking about it being quite dry. We are at the end of summer now. In fact, we're actually in autumn already. So a lot of the grasses, even though they are still green because we got late rains, have already seeded. Most of these grasses, most of the seeds have been dropped. So any of the rain we get now is not really that valuable anymore. I mean, the rain is always valuable. I'm from a desert country, Namibia. If it rains, we're happy. We used to run out of, I mean, in school would stop if it rained and we'd go outside to enjoy it. So, any rain is good rain. But the rain we get now is not going to make such a big difference for the actual grazing, for the actual food available, but it will still make a difference for the waterholes, make a nice difference for us, a bit of rain now just to cool it down. But most of the sort of growth, the necessity of rain, the grasses and the trees and all that, that has happened already. As we're almost at what I wanted to show you, it'll be here shortly. Firstly, don't expect anything, because it's nothing major. It's something tiny. I've been building it up, but it is something I thought was quite cool, and I hope you think the same. But it's not an elephant, or it's not a lion, or it's not a leopard, it's not even a beautiful tree. It's just a little something that I want to show. I haven't even looked myself, so I hope it's something worthwhile to look at. and we're gonna stop here very shortly. Alright, so we have gotten to this thing I want to show you, and as I said, very importantly, it's nothing major, it's nothing big. In fact, from where we're sitting, it looks like nothing at all. But I will go there and show you that that is actually a hole in the sand, which is why I don't want to drive too close. Firstly, we won't be able to see. Secondly, if I go too close, it'll actually collapse because it is just gravel or sanders. I'm going to go a bit closer. You won't be able to hear me very well, I won't be long. But basically, I just want to try and show you how deep it is. When I come back, I'll explain what it is. But this was made by elephant. Now, we've just seen, Brian, if there's anything urgent, just let me know. Cool. We have seen back at the waterhole, there's water not far from here. So elephants could get water there. But elephants especially, being smart animals, like clean water, just like we do. If you have a choice of dirty, brown, sort of mucky water and clean water, you're going to choose the clean water. If there's no clean water and only brown water, you're still going to drink it because you're thirsty. But elephants, even if there's water available, will sometimes come in these riverbeds and they will dig in the sand to get beautiful, clean, filtered water. Let me see. I didn't actually think about this before. I didn't have a cup here. Let me just go show you how deep it is. Okay, firstly, you should be able to hear me, I think. Can you see that that's wet?
Give me a sec to zoom in there. Yeah.
So this is from earlier today, maybe an hour or 2 hours ago at the most. An elephant would have been here. He thought, you know what, I feel like some clean water. I'm going to dig this out. I'm going to get some clean water. Now, I've got small hands compared to an elephant. This you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, now apart from a few bits of sand, that is actually very, very good water. And that's how they do it. For an elephant, that would have taken probably as long as it took me just to open that up from scratch, dig a little bit, clean water. Now, elephant, sorry, it was harder digging than I thought it would be. For an elephant, he's not going to quench his thirst. Elephant needs to drink, if he's thirsty, 50, 60, 80 liters of water. What is that, 20 gallons of water. So he would have done that just because he felt like a nice clean drink. Dig a little bit, nice sigh for water, come back with it. You know what, I'm going to let Brian taste as well because it really is good. Let's take my water bottle cap. No, I was hoping we could get an angle in there, but it's like this deep. Obviously collect it until you've got enough. Get some kind of a container. Hopefully you had a water bottle, otherwise you make something. Ostrich eggs were great. There's a couple of different things you can use. And then you'd filter it. You would take this, maybe take your shirt off, or a handkerchief if you have, a scarf, pour it through it into another container. Just take out the major sort of bits and pieces that might be in there. But keep in mind, this water has been filtered by the sand. And taste, Brian?
Can we have a close up first?
A little bit of a sort of a greyish colour to it.
Yeah, let me have a taste.
Ah, very, very good. It's good, huh?
Yeah,
Really,
it's
it really tastes good. I wasn't expected because of the color,
No, it's actually not
but it
bad
is
at all.
clean granite sand or sand filtered water. Okay. So that wasn't anything major, but I thought something you might enjoy. I did. Who doesn't like playing in wet sand? Okay, give me a second. This clip on. Okay. Let's go look around. Still keeping my fingers crossed for Kunyuma later on. What's the time now? 4 o'clock South African time. Means we've got about an hour and a half, a little bit more till sunset. Let's look at this beautiful bridge. It's another russet bush willow, the same tree we spoke about earlier. Now driving underneath it, we're going to have to dip our antenna down, so you might have a second or two where we disappear or just sort of flicker around. Don't worry. And let me check this. So I'm a little bit like a kid that's, I wouldn't say first live safari. Hayden Turner, he's going to show you a few things. Enjoy the drive with him. I'll see you back this side again in a bit.
Welcome back, folks. We've just been driving around having a look at some of the water points to see if there's been any activity. I've been listening to the radio. Obviously at this time of the day when the temperature is like it is, there's still a lot of inactivity from the big predators. Even the hoofed animals like impala and kudu and so on, they're well into the shade. The elephant herd that I did look for, they went right across into another property, so we let them be. But what we've just done is come down to the airstrip here at Arathusa. Now, if you've just joined us, I'd like to give you a little bit of a rundown about what the airstrip means. If you're a regular Wild Safari Live participant, you'll know that Arathusa has an airstrip that lands its tourists and its guests in here on a regular basis. And tourism is really what runs a lot of conservation areas in Africa, and regularly guests will use this airstrip. We're just going to go back up the other side. And the reason I come down here is not to see the tourists arrive, and it's very rarely that I do see a tourist arrive. I come down here to maximise my chances on the potential of seeing another one of my favourite cats, and that's cheetah. Now, cheetah prefer open grassland to like this sort of open area to hunt. I do think I saw the guides down here a while back, a couple of months back, I think, see cheetah. It's very rare to see them, but they do pop their heads up now and again. And I really want to always make sure that we just put our nose in and have a look. I scanned the area from the other end with the binoculars, couldn't see anything. Again, it's a little bit hot, but if there were potential animals looking out, they could sit and elevate themselves on these termite mounds. It's a really a classic sort of pose for a cheetah to elevate itself up onto a little position there where it can see unsuspecting prey animals. Now, I say that they prefer this open grassland, but I have seen cheetah hunting in, if you can just pan around to this sort of vegetation, please, Andrew. I've seen cheetah hunting in that very successfully as well. Little bit thicker sort of country like that, and it really does depend. Animals will adapt their hunting techniques and their needs as and way as it pleases them, but depending on where they are, and it's all based around food availability. So if there's no food in these grasslands and they're all dried up, they're all gone a little bit barren from lack of rain, the animals might have a tendency to change their behaviour. Now, when I lived in Zimbabwe for quite a while, and I saw an incredible hunt there, right in front of my very eyes, as I was driving home from a friend's property. just on dusk, and an impala. If you've heard this story before, I do apologise, but it's worth telling again, just because it was that sort of country that you wouldn't potentially think that an animal could travel at speed, you know, up to 110, 115 kilometres per hour, as we all know, which is just over 60 miles an hour. We all know probably as well the fastest land mammal on the planet, but it's all good to put it into perspective, because you would potentially think that that's the only sort of country that they could run in. Well, I was coming into a little track just like this, and there was vegetation on both sides, and an impala lifted itself and leapt across the road, clearing the road completely. As it hit the other side, a cheetah at high speed, bang, got it right in front of me. I stopped. The adrenaline was pumping so hard in the cheetah, it didn't want to lose its kill, so it just sat with it and stared at me, hoping that I wasn't going to come any closer. I was only probably about 10 meters, about 30 feet away, and I just sat and turned my engine off completely. It was at dusk, and I sat there and watched. And I had one of the most privileged encounters with that species that I've ever had in my entire life. She then made sure that her animal was, her prey animal was dead, and she started to eat. A cheetah can eat a massive amount of animal protein in a single sitting. They have to be able to do that because they are definitely on the lower end of the cat or the predator sort of pyramid, for want of a better term, and they do regularly get their kills taken from them by wild dog, by hyena and lion, of course, and they also can risk injury. So it sat there, it made its kill, it finished it, it chowed down as much as it could, up to 16 kilograms in one sitting, which is about 30 pounds, maybe close to 40 pounds of meat. But before it gorged itself, it dragged the kill back across the road, and just about maybe 2 to 3 meters, maybe 10 feet off the road, was a little log, and out popped from behind it 2 cubs. Absolutely incredible experience. And she took it over, and those cubs chowed down, and then I saw unfold in front of me the whole story. Hyena turned up, jackals turned up, and it was an incredible thing to just see those other animals push the cheetah away. She took her cubs to safety, and then there was another whole melee of activity with hyena and jackal and so on. But an incredible thing. So I suppose what I'm just telling you that story for is, it's always great to come and have a look. It's always great just to double check, and never ever think that everything in the books is written in stone. I talked to Scott and Brent today about really important that there's always exceptions to the rule. So it was worth coming down. I'm going to go into Djuma proper. We might get lost. That's all right. We'll find our way back somehow. I do have a couple of maps somewhere, and I've got a map on an iPad, and I've got all these things, but hey, let's just get lost. We've got all afternoon. What do you think, Andrew? Yeah, it sounds like a good plan, mate. I like this little road down here. I kind of remember it. I kind of remember it. It's called Eli Alley, and I've had some beautiful elephant encounters there. The flies aren't too bad today. I'm really impressed. I must have. I did a lot of praying to the fly gods last night and said, please give us a break. And it seems to have worked, because they're not so bad, Andrew, today, hey? So, I say that now. A little squirrel there running in front of us, a little ground squirrel. And he's gone up. No, sorry, it wasn't. He's just gone onto there. Some amazing clouds developing over there. Great colours here at the moment, folks. This beautiful sort of golden brown of the grass is starting to recede as the winter comes. The leaves are starting to fall off some of the species of trees, and the seed pods are changing into a beautiful different colour as well. So it's a really important thing, as I said, just to go and check out these locations. Go and have a look at, I think this might be Ellie Alley. I'm going to just try to have a go down here. If it's not, we might get lost, but hey ho. That's the way it goes in the bush. If you don't have a little adventure once in a while, hey? So yeah, we just had a look at that airstrip just in case there was cheetah. No sign, but you know, we'll keep our eyes open. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update about the smells and the sounds and the feel of what we've got right in front of us at this moment. And it's still warm, the temperature's dropping, you can just feel it. The afternoon shadows are starting to lengthen. The gorgeous golden hue in this grass that you can see, different species of grasses throwing off different colours. And behind us, fantastic big puffy clouds developing. They may come to us, I don't know. It looks like it's moving around us at the moment, but we'll just deal with that when it happens. The smells are, you've got a really beautiful dry smell of grass and sort of a hay kind of a smell. So it's a real sensory overload here in the bush. And as soon as you come across animals, you definitely get an added extra as well. So remember, if you want to interact and have a bit of a chat with us, do send questions to #SafariLive. You can tweet them to us, or you can email us at questions@WildEarthTV. So whilst I'm just having a little bit of a wander down through here, because I'm just really driving, go and see what Pete's up to, and we'll come back, because as soon as I find something, I'll make sure we give you a yell, but we'll see you just now.
Well, welcome back this side. I was dropping in with Hayden for a bit. But we're very lucky this afternoon. We came back to Twin Dams again. As I said, we are going to come back here a few times this afternoon to look for leopard, hopefully. But not only were the buffalo still here, beautiful background of the sky and the trees and everything that we left earlier, but also these 3 elephants. Just arrived here, didn't stop for long. They had a quick drink. That's the youngest of the 3. Essentially, it looks like an adult female with this calf. That would probably be about 3 years old or so. And then another calf a bit older, maybe about 10 or so. I would guess maybe her previous youngster. And I would also guess that there are another few elephants in the area. 3 elephants is not typically a herd. There's the 3rd one. But it's not impossible, but I would guess there's a few more in the area. The buffalo were also just taking it easy in the water, and then the elephants came along. Elephants tend to be a little bit like that, especially around waterholes. They like to just remind the other animals that, listen, we are the biggest. You should remember that. So the younger elephants chase the buffalo around a bit. But they had their drink. He's climbing up the wall. Not an easy thing to do for elephants always. Just look at that beautiful sky as well. What a stunning background. Beautiful light as well. I must admit that's playing a big role this afternoon. Just looking at that heron. Stunning how it looks with that beautiful light on it. The water behind it reflecting the grass. So you've got a bit of a green and brown color on the water. Jimmy was asking just now on Twitter. Remember, if you want to ask us questions or even just comments or take part in some of the conversation on the vehicle, Hashtag Safari Live for Twitter. Send questions if you want questions at WildEarthTV. Jimmy was asking, do elephants ever lie down? Jimmy, funnily enough, yes. Now, if you'd asked that same question a mere 10 or 20 years ago, most of the books you read would have said no, or never, or unlikely. But young elephants obviously lie down a lot more. They need to rest. But even adult elephants, I've seen them lie down in water sometimes to cool down. Look at this heron going a bit deeper into the water. I'm going to tell you something interesting about herons just now as well. Apart from the fact that it's one of the most widespread birds in the world. Look at that beautiful shape. They're perfectly designed to coil the neck and strike at lightning speed to catch a little frog or a fish. Beautiful bird. The Djuma elephants also lie down. A number of years ago, there were some amazing photographs taken by some National Geographic photographers, if I remember correctly, I could be mistaken, where they found whole herds of elephants, from the old females to the youngsters, all lying down, sleeping for a few hours a night. It wasn't an area where they felt quite safe. I've seen big mature elephant bulls lie down as well, but normally against a slight slope, like a bank or something, so they can get up again easily. So yes, elephants do lie down, Jimmy, but not very often. Not as a daily thing, not like buffalo, for instance, would all the time. Certainly not like humans. But they can lie down, and they do lie down as well. Guys, a grey heron, bird that we're looking at now, I was mentioning just now that, you know, many years ago you might have read a book and it would have told you elephants don't lie down. So it's always important to look around in nature, see what's going on. You know, logic plays a big role in evolution. You know, things that work tend to keep on working, and things that don't tend to not work, so therefore they stop. But one of the things that I'd read along the way, and even I've had some people that were into birding and said it's impossible, is that herons can swim. We see the same thing with flamingos where I live. Flamingos are actually very relatively good swimmers. And we had a heron in Pilanesberg, one of the game reserves I worked in, and we had a waterhole similar to this, a bit bigger in front of the lodge. And there was a heron there that used to swim around the place, and we knew the waterhole well because we'd go swimming it sometimes when they weren't guesting camp. So we knew where the heron was swimming was 2-3 meters deep. And this guy was just swimming around very happily. It's not something they typically do. They've got those long legs so they can wade into the water. But again, if you just think about it logically, a bird that hunts mostly in and around water, it would make some sense that they can swim. So grey herons actually can swim. Just a little side note, you know, in case you ever bump into that in some pop quiz somewhere along the line for $1 million. Grey herons and flamingos can swim if need be. Guys, I'm very tempted to slip into that same sort of frame of mind that I was in earlier, and that is to just not go anywhere. Just sit here because it's lovely. It's not too hot now. I'm particularly enjoying. I'm sitting in the shade here. Brian is sitting right between me and the sun, so it's a nice, nice cool spot, and it's just beautiful. Buffalo all relaxed again. Elephants have come and gone. They were literally here for a few minutes. Now imagine those were 3 big elephants weighing thousands and thousands of pounds. And we could have missed them literally by a minute or two. So imagine just how easily you could miss a leopard or a lion or a wild dog or a hyena coming past here. So we will be frequenting this dam. It's been great for us this afternoon. It's visually just stunning. Just to look at that. It's beautiful. So I think we're going to move on before I get tempted to just sit here the whole afternoon. But, in the words of a very famous man, I'll be back. And not too long from now as well. We're going to just do a little drive around and then we'll get back here. That log. Always the fun part, the first few days back in an area. You have to get to know the logs from the leopards, so to speak.
The one right at the back.
That one right at the back, yeah. That's a. It was potentially leopard. Now I know it's a log for next time. But we'll keep trying. The ridiculous five, Brian.
Yeah.
That's what we call them, right? The log animals, the termite mound animals, the bunch of grass animals. Forgot the other ones. Those things that are not animals that look like animals to the keen enthusiast. Elephants! It's not a big surprise since we did just see them, it's the same ones. But they didn't go too far, which is good news for us. couple of ladies, playful youngster, little head shake there, sort of a what's up, what are you doing kind of question. Ears open, make himself look big. Looks like a young male. This is while we watch these elephants for a bit. Those are the two young ones. Oh, I thought there would be more. There's another two approaching from the back. It'll be a minute or so before they get to us. Genevieve was just asking from earlier, digging in the sand there for the water that elephants do. These elephants would do it sometimes. Other elephants do it as well. Genevieve was just asking if there's any minerals in that water or in the sand that get transferred into the water. Definitely yes. And it would also be beneficial in some way or another. So it could also be partly that elephants drink that water not only because it's nice and fresh, but also because they know they get some extra minerals from it. You get animals using mineral licks as well, so places where where salt and things accumulate in the mud, they drink there. Good afternoon, guys. Mshlambi and Love, small Mshlambi here, close to the boundary, Twin Dams. Sorry, I forgot to pull that in. It wasn't on purpose. So I sort of got sidetracked by the elephants there, but Genevieve, that was a very good question. I don't know if I mentioned your name there, but you could taste it as well. In fact, I mentioned it to Brian. I said, you actually get some good mineral value from this water as well. Guys, we've sat to these ellies for a bit. They know we're not here to bother them, so I think let's get a bit closer. Another two have joined, so there's 5 of them now at least. Good afternoon, Sam, or shall I say good morning? It's morning time in Ohio. Sam was just asking about that warthol we were just sitting with. We were discussing it earlier in the drive. But that warthol, I would say, has got another 2, maybe 2.5, 3 months at the most of water left in it. So definitely, Sam, your question, whether that warthol will dry up, will definitely dry up. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you for just getting clarification there, Sam. You were actually referring to, what's this youngster? Come on, say hello to us. Just going to stop in front here. Sam was actually referring to that wall, to the hole that, I wouldn't quite say I dug it, Sam. I just sort of opened it up again. An elephant bull dug it. We actually found him not long after we left there. I just opened it up again. But Sam, that waterhole will actually, before it dries up, it'll actually cave in again. It's loose sand. I would give it 1 or 2 days. A couple of small animals will go drink there, and the sand will just fall in again. But at the same time, the sand obviously prevents a lot of that water from evaporating. So if you were to go and dig there again a week from now, you'd find clean water again. And towards the drier times, when the waterholes, like the one where the buffalo were, when they start drying up, you actually find that animals dig for water more often because they know there's places they can find it. And of the animals digging for water, you get antelopes doing it as well. By far the best at doing it are these elephants. They're very good at it. They can smell water miles away or way underground. And obviously being so big, they use their foot for the initial digging and their trunk for the last bit. Excellent, excellent diggers. So they get to that water very quickly, to the point where they even open it up for other animals as well. Oh, sorry, I just getting back in the swing of things. I forgot to radio the game drive stations. I'll explain to you what I'm doing just now. Good afternoon, all stations. Peter, Wild Earth out and drive. Just want to confirm we've got a small Mshlambi and Dlov, Winkley relaxed, at Twin Dams, and also Slummy Dugger Boys Twin Dams. Basically what we're doing, for those of you maybe on one of your first drives with us, there's other game drives around as well. HT, the vehicle you were on earlier, other lodges, Texan and Aubrey from Boytilla, Ryan and some of the guys from Aretusa, and they're all out, and we're all helping each other find things, and in doing so we all get better chances of finding things, and we let each other know. Someone's just asking me now if they can come have a look. Let me just speak to them. Last station, go again. Lutum, for sorry, my radio's been down for a bit, so I don't know. Just Ndlovu and Yari Kusui Twin Dams. Lutum, we're going to book off for that Ingwe a little bit later. Hopefully, put some Marty Twin Dams too. That was just Andrew asking about the Ellies and where some of the other guys are. And Andrew was also asking the same question we're asking ourselves. As the sun is getting lower, as we can see there, he was asking if there's any sign yet from that leopard this morning. Andrew was one of the guys that saw Kunyuma with us. In fact, Andrew was also in there on foot with me when we found it the last time. Great guy, good friend of mine, Andrew Corza. I've known him for years. Where's this little button? So he's got the same plan in mind. He's also starting to circle the area. The sun is getting lower down. The time when the dappled things start getting up is approaching, and we're all hoping that we might find something here. So let's go look around a little bit. These ellies are moving into the bush. It's getting more and more thick. I don't want to bunderbash through them. Let's make our way back to the water, see what else might have arrived. We have another question from New York. Genevieve, I'm going to get to it shortly. I just want to see if this bird does stick around, and it's probably not going to know it doesn't. It's a bird that's tricky to show because they always do that. They fly away, which is your privilege if you're a bird. You're allowed to. There's a ground scraper thrush. Quite a pretty bird. It's got the speckled chest. Beautiful song as well. But Genevieve is just asking, as the seasons change and the food obviously changes with that, whoa, fish eagle. So they're always tricky to film when flying, but there we go. Nice one, Brian. That's a fish eagle. The heron took off. The fish eagle might be coming to have a look at the waterhole. We'll see. That's roughly what they sound like. Let's go closer. Genevieve was asking, with the food changing its sort of compositions and things, will that affect the growth of the elephant tusks? Genevieve, to be fair, I don't know that for a fact, but I would think that you would find sort of, growth of the animal itself changing a little bit with the seasons. In other words, when there's lots of food or when there's not that much food. Whether it'll actually affect the growth of the tusk, I don't know. Elephant tusks obviously grow their whole lives, so they keep getting better as they get older, or keep getting bigger as they get older. In fact, they actually start growing faster when they get older as well, which is why you get those really old bulls with those massive tusks. But I don't think that will change. I don't think it'll change in a seasonal sort of kind of way. But what does change with the foods changing their sort of composition of minerals and so on is what animals eat, especially things like elephants that eat such a wide variety of foods. They have everything from under the ground to above the ground. So roots to bark to grass to twigs to leaves to fruit. They eat all of those things. And they do change what they eat depending on the time of year. Guys, I just have to move this branch. I think that was probably one of those elephants playing earlier or something. I'll be back in a second. Okay, that's goodbye. Well, guys, just while I was moving that branch, I grabbed a quick show and tell thing en route, and we might as well have buffalo in the background of the show and tell, why not? Earlier, now this is maybe more for you that have been on the drive since the earlier part of the day. If you've just joined us in the last few minutes, big welcome here to Africa, to Djuma Game Reserve. Lovely to have you as our guest. There's one running, look, look, look. There, he's hiding. There's another one. If you watch this, you'll see it's moving, not only from the wind. Sorry, Brian, this is a bit backlit, huh? But you get the idea.
Okay.
Now look at what's in there. There's a bit of leaf. Twig here. There's some leaf matter. That's some bark by the looks of it. Sticks, grass, that finer stuff. All kinds of things that they're eating. They are herbivores, but they eat the whole spectrum of foods. Now earlier I was talking about that bird, the blacksmith plover or the lapwing, and he was at some hippo dung, which is very similar to elephant dung, same kind of digestive system, so very coarse foods. And in this is quite fresh. This is from earlier today. You will already see. Let's see if I can spot one for you. As I picked it up, there's a little bug running. There's one, some kind of a small beetle. See it there. There's one that jumped off. I saw one on top here. There's a little flying kind of something, insect, tiny little thing. So if you are a bird that eats insects, this is a very good place to come to because it's got moisture in it, and it's also got this perfect environment for many animals to maybe lay their eggs in, for some of these insects to come and say, hey, here's a great place, we're going to put some eggs in there, and when the eggs hatch, they're going to wake up in this great environment where there's food for them. So quite often you find that animals do that. Great for your garden as well, if you were gardening around here. Hello Jacqueline, nice to have in the vehicle with us all the way from Georgia. I've actually been in Georgia, one of the parts of the states I've been to. I lived in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina for a while, so we came via Georgia. And Jacqueline's asking, is it true that elephants find their water by smell? Again, so I'm sort of backtracking into the early part of the drive. That branch had 2 leopards on it when we drove underneath it, that story I told you earlier. Again, I just told the story earlier in the drive, how lovely it is to drive down these riverbeds. And we talked about jackalberries, which is what this kind of tree is. And we drove underneath it once, myself and my tracker Rodney, great guy, and a couple of guests. And once we passed underneath, Rodney for some reason turned around and looked back, and he was like, whoa, there's 2 leopard up there. Jacqueline, elephants don't really, well, they can find water by smell, certainly under the sand like that. They would smell it, they would hear it as well, they would also feel it through their feet if it's moving. So they do definitely use smell, but they also use memory. Many elephants have grown up since little elephants, knowing where the waterholes are, where the rivers are, and they learn that knowledge, they pass that knowledge on in their generations. They've got great ability to learn from each other as well. So a combination of all of those, intelligence, memory, experience, smell, touch, hearing even can play a role as well. But they do have a way above average sense of smell.